Hello and welcome to Beauty Will Save the World. I have here 2 copies of Auden. This is a slimmer selected works with a few poems. It's around 100 pages and it's the first one I got, but it's not all of Auden, so it must have been hard compiling this because there's so much good stuff. This is another copy of Auden. I think both are by Faber and Faber. This is like a bigger, more like a collected works copy. I really don't like the cover. I mean, it looks so plain to me compared to this one. Is a lovely copy with a portrait of Auden on it. And we have here collected poems of SARA Teasdale. I don't think much of her works are currently in print, so this is like a really poor copy I got. It's like one of the poorest copies of poetry collections that I've ever gotten. The corrected works of the poetry is beautiful, very lyrical, short works, but I'm just saying the quality of the book itself is not really cool. Probably she's out of print. She was an early American poet, really one I could consider like really first of the moderns, one of the very early like sort of modern style as we know it now. And I think she must have been the first person to win a Pulitzer Prize for poetry in America. And she committed suicide in 1933. So there's very many incidences of poets and artists committing suicide that it doesn't seem very weird or new anymore. But it must have been quite tragic back then, as it still is. So Auden, I'll read a poem of Auden today, and one poem of SARA Teasdale. So it should be a short video. So the theme is like the sort of fall of civilizations. And at page 183 of this Faber and Faber collected works is the poem "The Fall of Rome." And of course, Rome has always represented that sort of the height of civilization, the height of ancient civilizations, and even current, I think, governments as we know them borrow a lot from that system of Rome, and even the delusion political ideologies of modern progress always try to compare themselves with the height of success of Rome. But just like everything else, civilizations rise and fall, and Rome did fall, even though it lasted longer than even maybe other civilizations lasted in antiquity, or modern civilizations may last. But so we see the signs of falls of civilizations even in our time. There's a rise of sort of decadence and loss of morals and sort of loss of humanity and direction, and the higher qualities of human beings in society have sort of been compromised. But writers have always written about all this through time, and of course it's always very sobering to see these echoes become like reality of our times. And so this forms like the theme of the reading of today. I won't be reading from this. I'll be reading from this bigger collected works, The Fall of Rome. So let's hear it, and maybe I can do a short commentary before the end, but I don't like to do long commentaries on this. I like when the art speaks for itself. So, The Fall of Rome, for Cyril Connolly. The piers are pummeled by the waves. In a lonely field, the rain lashes an abandoned train. Outlaws fill the mountain caves. Fantastic grow the evening gowns. Agents of the fiscs pass, absconding tax defaulters through the sewers of provincial towns. Private rites of magic send the temple prostitutes to sleep. All the literati keep an imaginary friend. Cerebrotonic Cato may extol the ancient disciplines, but the muscle-bound marines mutiny for food and pay. Caesar's double bed is warm as an unimportant clerk writes, "I do not like my work," on a pink official form. Unendowed with wealth or pity, little birds with scarlet legs, sitting on their speckled eggs, eye each flu-infected city. Altogether elsewhere, vast herds of reindeer move across miles and miles of golden moss, silently and very fast. January 1947. I think most of the post-war poets and post-war artists were plummeted into this sort of disillusioned state with things, and I think closely on to another English writer who writes in 1948. That is a year after Auden writes this poem. In 1948, was it 1948 or 1984? Yeah, 1948. So it's in the title that it changed it to 1984. That is George Orwell's 1984. He wrote it in 1948, so he just gave it a title and shifted the numbers, and you can see a lot of disillusionment in that, and of course the governments that succeeded in states like Russia after that, and they were hoping things might be better, but it wasn't really better for them, I think. And Eliot, I think, Orwell used the situation in Russia as a blueprint to probably show what the future might look like and the dystopian world that might come. And so I think from that sort of place is where this poem comes from, and I think it's a subject that must have occupied a lot of artists and literati of the time. So when I read it, it sort of echoed for me a Teasdale poem, which I've always loved, and which has such a ringing title. And that same poem is it gave a later writer an idea for a title of a short story that he did. I think it's called "There Will Come Soft Rains." There's a short story on it where all humanity has been wiped from the face of the earth, and only one robot remains, and it goes through a room as if nothing happened. Like if our own technology like survived us, and we didn't exist. Like, what would that look like? It's a very bleak premonition of the future. But I mean, with the rise of things like AI, who knows how much more dystopian it might look. The reality is always stranger than fiction. So I forget the name of the person who wrote that short story, taken from the title of this poem. It's one of those science fiction writers. I forget his name. Maybe I'll remember it later. But There Will Come Soft Rains is my favorite poem by SARA Teasdale. I'm not sure the date that he wrote it, but she was very active in the early 19th century, the Roaring 20s. The Roaring 20s, when there was so much hope and so much conviction and confidence in the American dream. When America was coming onto its own and slowly picking up and becoming the superpower, and then the Industrial Revolution, and Tom Ford coming up with the assembly line. I mean, that is a very interesting background from a poet's perspective. But of course, she wrote this during the wartime, so that is 1914 to 1918 thereabout, and that was World War One. And what she wrote about it just remains so much relevant to even now. So let me go on and read it. There Will Come Soft Rains, Wartime, by SARA Teasdale. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows suckling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire. And none, not one, will know of the war. Not one will care at last when it's done. Not one will mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. So, that is SARA Teasdale and W.H AUDEN. So today, I think what inspired our background art is Chief Joseph. It's a painting I did some time back, and is his so sad face reflecting the suffering of his people and his own despair at the hands of the American progress with a P, which almost wiped out an entire race. And it's not much spoken of, but I mean, it was a genocide of biblical proportions. And his face I've always represented for me that sort of, the highest form of cruelty and horror that the advance of progress can lay to humanity, and the greed for property and power by one human to subjugating the other. And so that sort of extent of the fall of civilization, how is it worth it, to lay down our whole race and kill so many people just for the idea of progress and civilization? And so it makes you wonder, what is really civilization then? And I think Chief Joseph must have asked himself a lot of questions on that line, like, did they have to do that? Why couldn't they live together in peace and harmony and be equal before the law, and not that one has to die for the other to thrive? So those are questions that we still ask ourselves as humans, continue to put each other down and try to eliminate each other so that they can take over. And I think I'll just read the 2 poems at one go to just close this video for today. So I'll start with the let me start with the Auden, Fall of Rome. The piers are pummeled by the waves. In a lonely field, the rain lashes an abandoned train. Outlaws fill the mountain caves. Fantastic grow the evening gowns. Agents of the fiscs pass, absconding tax defaulters through the sewers of provincial towns. Private rites of magic send the temple prostitutes to sleep. All the literati keep an imaginary friend. So a Bretonic Cato may extol the ancient disciplines, but the muscle-bound marines mutiny for food and pay. Caesar's double bed is warm as an unimportant clerk writes, "I do not like my work," on a pink official form. Unendowed with wealth or pity, little birds with scarlet legs sitting on their speckled eggs eye each other flu-infected city. Altogether, elsewhere, vast herds of reindeer move across miles and miles of golden moss, silently and fast. I like the last verse. Such a beautiful picture. Then there will come soft rains again. There will come soft rains by SARA TEASDALE. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, the frogs in the pool singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on low fence wire. And no one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it's done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when we woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. Thank you, and like and subscribe. Beauty with Save the World. Bye-bye.